Okay, so imagine this. You pour your heart and your soul into creating your podcast or your channel, and you build your audience. You're attracting sponsors. You start earning real money, and you become known for your distinctive title or your channel name. But then one day, you open up your inbox, and there it is, a cease and desist letter. Someone else has registered your title, your name, as their trademark. And now they're demanding that you stop using the name that you created. So now you're facing a terrible choice. You can spend thousands of dollars fighting a costly legal battle, or throw away all your hard work and start over from scratch, or maybe just sort of coexist with them. Now, it sounds like a nightmare scenario, but believe me, this is actually happening more often than you think. But the good news, it's entirely preventable. So stay with me today, and I'm going to show you exactly how to trademark your podcast name before someone else beats you to it, step by step. Here we go. Welcome back to Legit Podcast Pro, the show designed to help creators just like you to build, grow, and protect your podcast channel, blog, or online business. I'm Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, and today we're diving deep into trademarks, specifically how you can secure a trademark for your podcast title, channel name, or brand name. And by the end of the episode, you will know exactly why trademarks are crucial for creators, the practical step-by-step process to register your podcast title, how to avoid costly mistakes that most creators make, and what to do if someone tries to claim your brand first. And be sure to stay till the end, because I will reveal the number one mistake that podcasters make when dealing with their brands, a mistake that can cost thousands of dollars if you're not careful, and I'll show you how to get my creator's guide to trademark registration. So if you're ready to protect your podcast, let's get started. So first things first, why does this matter? Why should podcasters care about trademarks at all? Well, your podcast title, logo, your brand, these are not just words or images. They are your identity, your reputation, and ultimately your business. Your podcast name, your channel name, is how listeners and viewers find you and share you. Your title is how sponsors, partners, collaborators, and the platforms recognize and trust you. But without trademark protection, that identity isn't safe. Someone else could come along, use the same or similar name, cause confusion of your audience, or even force you into a rebrand entirely. Here's a real example from my own experience. This is a client of mine. She had a podcast, was gaining rapid popularity, but she had delayed trademarking the title because she assumed it wasn't necessary until she was big enough. Well, guess what? Someone else swooped in, started up a show, filed for a trademark registration, and started sending threatening letters. Result was an expensive, stressful battle, and ultimately, she ended up having to rebrand because it was just the cost-effective solution. But she lost all kinds of momentum, thousands of listeners in the process, and it's embarrassing. Don't make the same mistake. Let's dive into how trademarks work and why filing early is so critical. So, first off, I want to clear up a big misunderstanding that lots of creators have. Here in the United States, trademark rights are created when you start using your title or brand publicly in commerce, not just when you file the paperwork. So that means technically, if you used the name first, you have priority. But here's the catch. If someone else registers your podcast title first, like happened to my friend Daniel, even if you've been using it longer, it could still cause a huge headache. Their trademark registration could block yours and force you into that costly legal dispute just to prove that you were there first and had the superior rights. Think of it this way. First use gives you initial rights, but first registration gives you or someone else leverage. It is far easier and cheaper to file early than to fight later. Now stick around, because in the next segment, I'm going to explore exactly how you determine if your podcast name is even trademarkable and how to register it correctly. So what makes a podcast name trademarkable? Well, what exactly can you trademark? The short answer is anything distinctive enough that your audience will associate it specifically with you. Now, there are exceptions, but here's a quick breakdown. Generic terms like the football show or the true crime podcast are usually not trademarkable. They are much too common. Now, descriptive things like the gardening advice podcast can be tricky because they merely describe the show's content, and that's not acceptable either. It has to be distinctive. So now we get into titles like Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income, or Serial, or Pod Save America. These are perfect candidates for trademark because they're unique and instantly recognizable. We all associate those shows with a particular person or entity or style or those kinds of things. So quick exercise. Think about your own show right now and ask it, is it generic, descriptive, or distinctive? If it's distinctive, if it falls on that end of the spectrum, that's great news. You have a strong trademark candidate. Now, in the next section, I'm going to talk exactly about how to register your podcast name step by step. But before I get there, just a quick check-in. Are you finding this stuff valuable? If so, if you are, hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. That helps me to know and help you better. All right, now let's keep your podcast protected. How to trademark your podcast step by step. Let's get practical. Here's your simplified roadmap. First off, do a trademark search. Visit the USPTO website's Trademark Electronic Search System. They call it TESS. Search your podcast title in the relevant classes. For podcasts, that's typically Class 9, which covers digital downloadable media, and Class 41, which covers entertainment and informational services. And if you do printed material, you might want to look in Class 16 as well. It's not a bad idea to check Class 25, which covers, T-shirts and other kinds of merch. So check that really carefully. Now, just because it's not in there doesn't necessarily mean it's all clear, but it's a good sign. Certainly, if you see something there, that's a showstopper and you want to move on. But it is important also to consider doing a more comprehensive trademark search. Now, you can talk to a lawyer about that and decide whether it's really necessary. But for, the cost of a few $100s, the peace of mind you'll get before you file your application and put filing fees and things like that on the line, it often makes sense to run a real search with a search company and then have it analyzed. All right, assuming you get that far, step 2 is to file your application. You'll file online. In the U.S., it's USPTO, that's United States Patent and Trademark Office, .gov, and you'll provide your podcast title, that is called the mark or the brand. You'll give a description of the kinds of services that you are rendering or providing under the brand. For example, entertainment services, namely providing podcasts in the field of basket weaving and brain surgery. Who knows? Anyway, then you have to submit proof of your use of the brand in interstate commerce. Now, usually we're able to use screenshots from podcast on platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so on. And there's a few little tricks to it, but it's usually screenshots will do the job. So then you'll wait a bit. It often takes a few months for the trademark office to reply. Oh, you have to pay a filing fee also. That's $350 for each class of goods and services you register in, not counting any attorney's fees that you may be paying for help with it. But assuming you get all that filed, then you wait a few months for the USPTO's examining attorneys to look at the file and raise any questions or concerns. Sometimes they'll ask for clarifications or changes. It's usually in the form of the ominous-sounding office action or preliminary refusal. Promptly responding to these will keep things moving smoothly, and usually have about a 3-month window to do that. Once you've satisfied them that it is suitable for publication and registration, then they will publish the mark for public comment. That's an opportunity for anybody who believes they might be harmed by the registration happening to raise their objections in the form of an opposition. Most of the time that doesn't occur, but if it does, you just have to engage counsel and do your thing. Assuming it does go without opposition, then they publish it. Then after the 30 days of publication, the trademark is registered, and you then have to sort of police that. You protect your trademark by using it publicly, filing the necessary renewal documents periodically, and also being alert to anybody else coming along and using confusingly similar titles. So it sounds pretty straightforward, but actually it's a little technical. Accuracy really matters, and small little mistakes in how you describe things or whatever can cause big delays. Now, that's why I recommend using professional help to get this kind of a thing done, but more on that in a moment. So, what are some common trademark mistakes that podcasters and creators make? Well, let's cover them quickly. First off, the most common and costly mistakes they make is, number one, waiting too long, thinking I'll trademark it later once I'm big enough. Another is just not doing the search. Well, I Googled it and it looked fine, or deciding, well, I've already got a company, an LLC name, so that's enough to protect me. That's not true either. Another is choosing a weak or generic title that just doesn't pass muster with the trademark office, or failing to monitor the trademark after registering it, and then seeing a little too late that there's all these other folks in the marketplace confusing the audience. This is one of those areas where if you sit on your rights, you may find that they're gone when you go to enforce them. So just do your job, police your marks, be diligent about that, and make sure to stay alert. So if you avoid these kinds of mistakes, you are going to be miles ahead in protecting your podcast. Okay, now what do you do in that scenario where someone else has filed their trademark application first? Now, first off, if you were using it first, you need to provide evidence. Gather proof of your first use. That might be screenshots, invoices for hosting, copies of early episodes, anything that can, allow a judge or a jury to conclude that, yes, you were there first. And don't wait. At this point, if you're seeing this kind of a problem, talk to a trademark attorney immediately about filing an opposition or a cancellation action if someone else is registering the brand. It is not going to be good if it gets through and gets published and registered. So do your thing. All right. Next up, here's your trademark protection plan. Let's recap. First off, pick a unique, protectable podcast or channel title. Do a thorough trademark search or get help doing that and analyzing the results. File your trademark application as soon as possible. Defend the trademark once it's registered. Do these things and your podcast or channel will stay secure and it'll stay yours alone. Now, your podcast or channel is more than just a hobby. It's a brand. It is your business, and it is an asset you need to treat accordingly. So here's the good news. You don't have to figure it out all alone. Inside my Easy Legal for Podcasters program, I actually guide you step by step, showing you on the screens what you'll see as you register your trademark for your podcast properly. And I do the same thing for forming your LLC, writing up your contracts, and onboarding your team and those kinds of things. You can go over to easylegalforpodcasters.com to check that out. And if you want one-on-one guidance, you can set up a trademark consultation directly with me at gpf.link. That's my initials, Gordon P. Firemark.link/TM call. And if you are interested in my free guide for podcasters, head on over to podcasttrademark.com, where you can download the guide in exchange for your email address. So that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for joining me here on Legit Podcast Pro. We're keeping you legally legit and creatively confident. And until next time, please protect your brand, keep on creating, get out there and make something amazing. Have a great day.